Babies. We need babies. We need a lot of babies, people. America's population is growing so very slowly. It's moving slower than an MMA match between Joe Biden and Mitch McConnell. Come on, man.
How about they?
Very boring, very painful to watch. We're talking too slow, so I'm proposing a $5,000 tax credit for married couples to have a baby right now, very quickly. We're calling it the Trump Baby Bump. That's right. Help us grow the country, and we'll give you $5,000 cash. But that's not all. RFK, tell them what else they get.
We also pledge your new baby will get fewer untested vaccines.
So they don't come out of the womb all screwed up. You know, you're expecting Gerber, and you get Gollum, and it's not pretty. But wait, there's more. Tell him, Elon.
Only babies will be entered into a free lottery, and when they grow up, some will win a free trip to live on Mars.
So go to TrumpBabyBump.gov. Act now, and I'll throw in this Trump Baby Bump starter kit, a plate of oysters, a bottle of wine, and a Marvin Gaye CD. Works every time. So have Congress. Have a closed-door session, filibuster till sunrise, and let's make America create again.
Well, the Trump baby bump is back in the news. How does $2 million sound for your grandchild? Let me break this down for you. The headline, welcome to Mark Mosley's show. Could Trump's $1,000 retirement accounts for babies eventually replace Social Security? What the experts say. Trump accounts present newborns in the United States born between January 1, 2025 and December 31, 2028 with a $1,000 tax-deferred investment account that allows yearly contributions of up to $5,000 and can be accessed only once they turn 18 years old. Now, multiple Trump administration officials have admitted that these accounts could lead to the gasp privatization of Social Security. Oh, heaven forbid that should ever happen. Plans for Social Security reform have been a topic of discussion for decades, but the fund faces depletion by 2032. And what year is it? 2026. So that's about 6 years away. Republican senator said President Trump's $1,000 401ks for babies, 401k for your baby, could lead to a Social Security privatization effort that failed back during the George W. Bush administration. We wanted to privatize a small portion of Social Security, and the Democrats lost their freaking minds. Well, here's the little secret Cruz said at the conference. Trump accounts are Social Security personal accounts. How did we get it done this time? Because we gave money to babies and we're not taking anything away from the old people. So the old people didn't get pissed off at us. But you know what? Babies grow up. That little girl born this year, one day she'll be 55. And the math is if you contribute regularly to it, by the time that little girl is 18, she'll have $170,000 in that account, which might be enough to pay for a 4-year university by then. I don't know. As the father of a son who just graduated from the Master's University with a degree in biblical studies just this past week. But here's the part that Cruz did not say. If you're completely irresponsible and after the age of 18, you don't put another dime in there, you let that interest thing do its magic. If you don't add another dime, you just let that 170K ride at 7%, which is conservative annual return. You can get better than 7% many years. But at 7%, let's go with the modest version. You will have about $2 million at age 55. $2 million. Yes, indeed. And that ain't bad. That ain't bad. You could retire at 55 with $2 million. If you obviously, if you can continue to contribute to it, it's going to be worth quite a bit more. But experts argue that Trump accounts are private Social Security funds dressed as something else. Well, duh. But don't we need to fix this problem eventually? Or are we just going to keep kicking that can down the road until we hit that brick wall? Because brick walls, I don't know if you know anything about brick walls, they don't really move. And you could get a owie. You could get a oopsie or a boo-boo on your forehead if you run into one. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent in July 2025 said, yes, the Trump accounts could be a backdoor for privatizing Social Security. And where's the problem there? Well, obviously the problem for the left is, liberals don't want everybody to be well off, because if everybody's doing great, then they don't have any power because their ideas suck. And the only thing that they have is pitting one group of people against another. Look at AOC's ridiculous comments this past week about how all our founding fathers were billionaires. The American educational system failed her. But yeah, listen, if the more people this is how this works, and please post your comments on YouTube, just light me up on YouTube. But and I know, we both know that this is how this works. The more people that are dependent on government, the more political power a particular, I won't say which one, political party in America has. So, it is what it is. Why don't you guys cop to it already? By the way, money for the much talked about Trump accounts doesn't just suddenly appear. Now, you need to know if your son or daughter had a baby this year, or you had a baby this year or next year, you're going to need to fill out and file an extra form. Unlike 401k plans, you cannot currently depend on an automatic enrollment system. You have to create a new Trump account for your child, and you can do that by going to trumpaccounts.gov and sign up and get your $1,000. It's a beautiful thing. Well, the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool has been drained and cleaned and is in the process of being painted and prepped to have the water put back in. It is very much a work in progress. So it's no shock that Democrats are posting photos of it now on social media as if it's like the finished product. Like, yeah. And when it comes to mocking unfinished projects, there's no one who should maybe sit this one out more than California Governor Gavin Newsom, who he couldn't help himself. He posted this picture on X of the work in progress with the text, "Bang up job, Donald." So far, though, more progress than the high-speed rail, which still doesn't have an inch of track laid. The reflecting pool will be refilled with water, unlike the reservoirs in L.A. Oh, got him.
Yes! Oh, yeah! Can you feel that, buddy?
Yes, unlike California's high-speed rail, which is in its third decade of construction and has already cost more money than the GDP of 5 Latin American countries rolled into one, this project will be done in a couple of months. And nobody knows when California's high-speed rail project will be done. Don't get me started on how they want to build a high-speed rail from Bakersfield to San Francisco instead of one that goes from L.A. to Vegas. Hello, L.A. to Vegas? That would be money in the bank. But no, I'm not in charge of these things. But let's go back in time. Speaking of the reflecting pool, Dateline 2012. CNN does a segment on the complete failure of President Obama's 2-year, $34 million reflecting pool renovation. And this story is from less than a month after the reflecting pool reopened.
There's plenty to take pictures of in downtown Washington, D.C. The Lincoln Memorial, the World War II Memorial, and then there's this. Folks snapping photos of the reflecting pool.
It's really sludgy up this end.
And what's in it?
It's disgusting. It's not right.
Algae.
It smells like wet dog down here, When my dog came home from a stream, he always smelled like this, so it's gross.
The Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool reopened at the end of August to great fanfare after a $34 million renovation that lasted nearly 2 years. But less than a month later, the famous pool of water is full of algae. Algae are simple organisms that thrive in areas where there is heat and sunlight. You have plenty of that here. The water may not look great, but it doesn't pose a health or safety hazard. It's really just the yuck factor.
If it's sunny, if it's really warm, it will rise to the top. So on some days, depending on the weather, you will see algae at the top, and they looks like small islands of algae.
But why has algae suddenly become a problem? The reflecting pool was renovated to fix cracks and leaks, but it also included installing a system to draw water from the nearby tidal basin into the pool instead of using city drinking water. Algae naturally grows in the tidal basin. Plus, the renovated pool holds less water. That shallow depth is a perfect condition for algae to grow, a bit of an embarrassment for the Park Service.
It's really a shame that they hadn't planned out this a little bit better so you wouldn't have algae growing after all this time and money.
The reflecting pool is not reflecting.
It's nasty.
Much of anything. Lisa Sylvester, CNN.
That is pretty gross. Notice how CNN did not blame Obama in any way, shape, or form. Of course, if it was Trump, it would have been all Trump's fault. Trump should have been down there with the pole, scooping the algae out. We've got to get the algae out of the reflecting pond. That's what I do. Every morning, I kiss Melania, and I go down to the reflecting pool, and I squeegee the pool. Meanwhile, Trump's refurbishing is only costing $13 million compared to Obama's $34 million. Well, Trump's a builder. He knows how to get it done and get it done on time and under budget. Meanwhile, the president is in China, and the left tried to make it look like he arrived to the sound of Chinese crickets. Yes, crickets forced at gunpoint to chirp for Trump as he got off the plane. We have your cricket children, and you will chirp for Trump or else. On X, the X account Call to Activism, a far left-leaning bunch of wackos, posted this video with the text, "Major breaking story. Donald Trump has arrived in China to find that President Xi did not greet him at the airport. MAGA is in spin mode, heralding the red carpet treatment, but the visit is already at a rocky start. Instead of a presidential welcome, Trump was greeted by U.S. Ambassador to China David Perdue, Xi's vice president, Han Zhang, China's ambassador to Washington, Zai Feng, and Executive Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs Ma Zhaozhu. I don't know how to say that one. I'm sure Trump would hate if you shared this and rubbed it in all day long. Well, Trump arrived at midnight. So, maybe President Xi wanted to get some sleep before he spent the day going toe-to-toe with the United States and one of the least China fanboys, in the last few decades. But here's the actual rest of the video of Trump's arrival. Look at that. Look at them cheering and shaking those American flags. It will be interesting if Trump uses this trip to China to make some moves now to further box in Iran. Because as we know, China and Iran have had a very, very friendly, they've been trade partners for a while now and exchanging technology and goods and services. And that would be amazing if Trump was able to convince China to, well, listen, they've been fairly neutral so far, which in and of itself is a godsend. So, but if Trump could nudge them to go a little bit further and maybe just apply a little more pressure on the country that's losing $500 million a day in revenue, then we could get this Iran thing wrapped up and get back to $5 a gallon gas in Los Angeles, as opposed to this $6.39 crap that we're dealing with. Yes, please. Yes, Gavin Newsom, can we please go back to paying only $5 a gallon for gas? That would be nice. It's like, I'd like to go back to the air-conditioned section of hell. Can we arrange that? Please. But that would be amazing. The friend of my enemy is my friend, to put a twist on the old saying. Or maybe Trump will just use the trip to try to cut a deal with China to produce those long-promised Trump phones. But more on that coming up a little bit later. Meanwhile, back here in the Golden Shower State, California is the place you ought to be. And they loaded up the truck and they moved to Beverly Hills, that is. Homeless folks, street poo. They ought to reboot the Beverly Hillbillies, you know, but in this version, Mr. Drysdale and his wife escape to the Ozarks and try to fit in there. I think that'd go pretty good. There you go, Hollywood. Get on that. And let me set a rumor straight. Right-wing media and podcasters have been snickering when the news broke that the two leading Democrats in the L.A. mayor race, Karen Bass and City Councilwoman Nithya Raman, both withdrew from a planned mayoral forum or debate that was scheduled for this week. Now, Karen Bass had originally agreed to be on it, and then she dropped out and cited a trip to Sacramento to lobby for funding for homelessness and Palisades fire recovery. Yeah, okay. Nithya Raman dropped out on May 11th earlier this week, stating she only wanted to debate Bass directly. And here's what the right-leaning hacks won't tell you. Look, I try not to be a hack on this show. I mean, I'm plenty conservative, but I mean, I think we can be intellectually honest, right? I hate hyperbole. I hate being a hack. Spenser Pratt had already decided he wasn't going to do this debate, and he had declined before either of them due to a scheduling conflict. So they didn't drop out because they're scared of him and they knew he was going to be there. Now, having said that, I could see Bass and Ramen Noodles being nervous that Pratt would, rope-a-dope them and change his mind at the last minute and show up after they'd agreed to do it, which would be hilarious. And that could be a plausible explanation. But get a load of this so-called anti-Pratt TV ad that backfired this week on the left. It was produced by the LA County Federation of Labor, AFL-CIO, which, as a SAG-AFTRA member, I am associated with. And it's why I have opted for financial core status with the union, which means that they don't collect the portion of your your dues that would go towards political activism. It's my way of protesting the extreme left-leaning political agenda of Hollywood and the SAG-AFTRA union. It's a thing you can do. Not a lot of people know about it, but it's called financial core status, and it allows you to not pay that estimated portion of your dues as a SAG-AFTRA member that would go to political contributions because they're only supporting leftists. So anyway, this AFL-CIO produced commercial cost $250,000, which Spenser Pratt should just write them a check for that right now. Here it is.
Republican Spenser Pratt is the last thing Los Angeles needs for mayor. Pratt opposes using taxpayer money to build brand new houses for our unhoused neighbors, saying it's time for the homeless to get help or get out. Pratt thinks LA needs thousands more police officers rather than more social workers, and Republican Spenser Pratt thinks public employee unions should have less power, not more. LA is on the right track and needs to stay the course. Vote no on Republican Spenser Pratt.
My favorite part is where they say, vote no. He's not a referendum, guys. You can't actually vote no for him. So that's stupid. It is funny, but I think I came up with my own ad that goes even further.
MAGA fascist Spenser Pratt is the absolute last thing Los Angeles needs for mayor. Pratt wants to get the homeless, tents, drugs, and needles off our streets and stop the fires underneath our highways. Pratt wants to flood the city with thousands more Nazi cops instead of social workers who are ready to be knifed to death in domestic disputes. And most vile of all, Spenser Pratt believes public employee unions shouldn't have the power to block the firing of pedophile teachers who just want to be really, really, really good friends with your kid. LA is on the right track to a complete dystopian hellscape, and Spenser Pratt wants to stop it. Vote no on Spenser Pratt. That's right, no. When you see his name on the ballot, fill in that bubble to vote no for Spenser Pratt.
Welcome back to Mark Mosley Show on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, at Mark Mosley, coming to you from the studios of The Buzz, Santa Clarita's home for the best talk, news, entertainment, Santa Clarita Valley of Southern California, a wonderful oasis of relative sanity. We are a suburb of Hades. I'm sorry, I meant Los Angeles, the city of angels, which ironically is run by demons. But that's why you see this little thing right here that says The Buzz, because they let me use their studios to tape my show every week. So God bless you, Richard Budman, and the whole team here at The Buzz. Yes, back to more California news. Christopher Rufo, independent journalist, has a report out this week claiming that California spent nearly $189 million to give every prisoner, including death row inmates, a free iPad. First, LA Mayor Karen Bass wants to give homeless meth addicts free teeth. Look into that. Yeah, she actually did say that. I had to look that one up because I was like, no, come on. Surely this is a Babylon Bee article. Yes, we're going to give the meth addicts free teeth because they have no teeth from doing meth. But it's true. Only in California. And Governor Gavin Newsom is having the taxpayers buy iPads for convicted inmates. Now, a little bit of hyperbole to clear up here because, as I said earlier, I like to be intellectually honest on this show. These are not actual iPads. They are tablets like an iPad, but they're very rugged. They're locked down prison tablets in a plastic shell, and they're supposedly designed for restricted use. Messaging, approved content, video calls, etc. Supposedly these cannot be used for, looking at pornography or running any kind of scams. But here is the problem. There are problems and there are always workarounds. Never underestimate the ingenuity of people who can make alcohol in a toilet, okay? And we've got Chinese spies running city governments in California. This is the wildest story of the week. Federal prosecutors say former Arcadia, which is a suburb also of Los Angeles, not as nice as Santa Clarita, and you'll hear why. Mayor Eileen Wang worked at the direction and control of China, pushing pro-Beijing messaging through a website disguised as a local news outlet. In one exchange, a Chinese official sent Wang pre-written scripts denying human rights abuses in Xinjiang. How do you say that? Xinjiang? Minutes later, she posted it and sent back the link. The official replied, "So fast. Thank you, everyone." Wang responded, "Thank you, leader." Quote, "Thank you, leader," end quote. Wang, the mayor of a city in Southern California. She has now pled guilty and faces up to 10 years in prison. First Assistant U.S. Attorney Bill Elisai said, quote, "Individuals in our country who covertly do the bidding of foreign governments undermine our democracy." And the case should serve as a warning about foreign influence reaching local levels of government. Now, this Arcadia case comes as there's renewed scrutiny of Eric Swalwell, who recently stepped down from Congress. Renewed attention turning to his past ties with a Chinese spy, Christine Fang, also known as Fang Fang, with critics calling for the release of any FBI files tied to that case. Concerns about Chinese influence, of course, inside U.S. politics date back years and years and years. Everybody remembers the case back in 2014 about Senator Dianne Feinstein, also from California. Are you noticing a pattern here? California. In 2014, the FBI alerted Feinstein that a longtime staffer in her office, also served as a liaison to the Chinese American community, had drawn attention from Chinese intelligence and may have been targeted for recruitment. And it's all happening here in the state of California. But now, as a public service now, because you, Mr. and Mrs. America, might be worried, is my mayor also a Chinese spy? Here are some things to look for. In fact, we have the top 7 warning signs that your town mayor is a Chinese spy. Number 7, wants to change the official city slogan to "Gee, we love our town." Number 6, during the town meeting, Pledge of Allegiance, is overheard accidentally saying, "And to the People's Republic for which it stands." Number 5, city has a helpful new app for accessing public services that only requires you give it access to your phone's camera, mic, and your banking information. Number 4, says he can get a too good to be believed deal on the city's 4th of July fireworks. These are the top 7 ways to tell your town mayor may be a Chinese spy. Number 3, the town library suddenly has a total of 7 books. I like that one. I'm high on my own supply here. I wrote these, and I'm saying I like that one. I like them all. I wrote them all. I like them all. Here we go. That one's a favorite. Number 2, the town potholes are now filled with dried ramen. Once you let it dry, it's as hard as a rock, man. I'm telling you. That'll work. And the number 1 way to tell your town's mayor, your small town mayor, may in fact be a secret Chinese spy, keeps trying to rename Main Street to Chow Main Street. There you go. We'll be back. Well, the Trump phones are coming. Of course, people are sneering now that it turns out they're not made in the USA. But you know what? Show of hands. How many of you are holding a phone that is made in the US? None of you. iPhones and Androids are all made in Asia, unless you have a Librem 5 USA by Purism that costs $2,000, and it will cost around $499. Comes with Trump 2024/47 theme pack, wallpapers, ringtones, and icons. Of course, what we really want are Trump ringtones. We need Trump ringtones for all the important and notable people in your life.
Well, it's your mother calling. You'd better pick up. After all, the woman did give you life. She spent 30 hours in labor, so much labor, tremendous labor like we've never seen. And you just about ripped her in two. And of course, she changed your dirty diapers, so many diapers. She looked down and she said, "Wow, that's a lot of poo. Probably more than we've ever seen." Your mother, she loves you like nobody does. She cleaned your face with spit. You'd better pick up, otherwise you're going to get tremendous guilt like you've never had. A lot of guilt. Oh, look at your brother-in-law calling. He's calling to borrow money again. Don't pick up. He's not going to pay you back. He never does. He's kind of a loser, and we don't like losers. We like winners. He's running a bigger deficit than the state of California. Well, it's your boss calling. He's calling because the big meeting, the one you were supposed to be at, that important meeting, so very important, started 20 minutes ago and you were not there because you overslept again. You were out partying with your loser brother-in-law. And your boss is calling now to say probably that you're fired. You're fired. But if you do get fired, you know, you can always move in with your mother, who loves you, quite frankly, an uncomfortable amount.
Welcome back to Mark Mosley Show. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. Don't forget to leave me a comment, because the comments and the likes and the asks and the shares make the algorithm go wee. And it's why our last week's episode did incredibly well. Thank you to all of you who watched and shared with friends. It seems like we may have cracked the code and figured out the algorithm here. Although I'll probably have spoke too soon, and this week's episode will then plummet in views. So let me just take all that back. I didn't mean any of that. Here we go. It's not true that you can't get your money back. See how I had to use a double negative there to make that work? It's not yet true that you can't get your money back on the Trump phone. Snopes had to get in and debunk an internet rumor that 600,000 people who had put down $100 deposits for a Trump phone would lose their money and never get a device. The rumor appeared to stem from social media speculation mostly. Somebody said, I'm going to make a social media post, and then the algorithm went wee, and it got shared 1 million times. There's no evidence that Trump Mobile told people who paid $100 for the so-called T1 phone. Yes, the T1 phone. Sounds like a Terminator, doesn't it? Yes, you're not getting your money back. Get out of here. Go. Do it now. Get to the chopper. The so-called T1 phone, there's no truth to the rumor that you can't get your money back. Trump Mobile changed its pre-order deposit terms and conditions last month in April to allow customers to request refunds for their deposits, or for the company to just go ahead and give everybody their money back if it ultimately decides not to sell the T1. Which, hey, again, maybe Trump will do a deal with the Chinese. Snopes said, as of the time of this writing, it is unclear when Trump Mobile would release the T1 phone, if at all. Only then would it be clear whether people lost money or if you got your money back. So we leave this claim unrated. Well, Melania Trump had her joke cut from the Kevin Hart roast. I guess they put up a stink about it, and Melania said, I don't think that is very funny, and I want it cut from the show. Please cut it from the show, or you are all fired. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I told you the secret to doing Melania Trump is you do Andy Kaufman's Lodka character from Taxi, and then you just soften it up a little bit. So it goes from thank you very much to thank you very much. I'm Melania Trump, and I don't think that was funny. But they did not cut out the Charlie Kirk joke or the George Floyd joke. Those got left in. If you haven't seen the roast of Kevin Hart yet, there was some look, these things are always pretty raunchy and pretty rowdy, and that's why they're so popular, because people love a good burn. But the one wisecrack about First Lady Melania Trump was cut from the lineup. The joke, now here's what the joke was. The joke targeted comedian Tony Hinchcliffe, who was on the panel, who is best known for comparing Puerto Rico to garbage at a Trump rally in 2024. And the joke went like this. Tony is like Melania. The only relevant thing about him is that he opened for Trump once. Sexual innuendo. It's not immediately clear why the joke didn't make the cut. However, it might have something to do with the president and first lady calling on Disney and ABC to fire Jimmy Kimmel because of a joke he made about Melania Trump. But the president, we don't know. We do know that the George Floyd joke was left in and the Charlie Kirk assassination joke was left in. And the George Floyd joke, of course, has caused quite a backlash, too, which erupted after Tony Hinchcliffe made a joke referencing Floyd during his set. He said to Kevin Hart now, quote, the black community is so proud of you. Right now, George Floyd is looking up at us all, laughing so hard he can't breathe, end quote. I don't think that's funny. And I'm not the biggest George Floyd fan, but I get it. This whole thing is designed to go viral, so we have to tell the most outrageous jokes that we can come up with. I'm old school. I like the old Dean Martin roasts. Those were great. You can go back and watch those, and they hold up really well. Now, I'm trying not to be a boomer here. I do like the Comedy Central roast. I'm just saying sometimes they go really, really far. So, anyway. Fallon, meanwhile, Jimmy Fallon knows how the game is played. You know, I talk on this show a lot about show business and how people forget that there's the word business is in there and how you shouldn't set out to piss off half of your potential customers, which celebrities do all the time. But Jimmy Fallon He knows how to make these kind of middle of the road jokes where, you're making fun of Trump, but you're not being brutal about it. You're not talking about Melania Trump having the glow of an expectant widow, that kind of stuff. But he talked about this week on his show, he talked about Trump going to China, and he said the two leaders aren't expected to make any kind of major deal. Trump can take a break from not making a deal with Iran to not making a deal with China. And he said that, quote, Trump can't wait to see where all his hats are born. So, those are funny. I'm sure they landed very well with the audience. And again, you're kind of riding the line there between you're making fun of Trump, but in a kind of a good-natured and not terribly mean way. And that's going to get you the biggest audience. That's not going to get you clicks and shares, but that will get you ratings, and that will make the advertisers happy because they don't like the harassing phone calls. Now, speaking of celebrities and politics, Billy Bob Thornton tried not to get political, and of course, in today's highly charged political environment, not getting political is immediately politicized by the left. Billy Bob Thornton said during an appearance on the Howie Mandel Does Stuff podcast, the Landman actor, by the way, Landman, currently my favorite show. I'm still making my way through season 2, and I love the addition of Andy Garcia, and I love that we finally get to see, because I thought, why do they have Demi Moore on this show? And she has like 2 lines per episode. And now you see where they were going with it. But now I don't want to spoil anything for anybody that hasn't watched season 1. But now Sam Elliott is on the show. What's funny about that is that Billy Bob Thornton is 70 and Sam Elliott's playing his dad, and Sam Elliott is only 81. So, but Billy Bob Thornton doesn't look 70 to me. Anyway, Billy Bob Thornton said, I don't know anything about politics. I have no idea. And the stuff I do believe, I don't want to force it down somebody else's throat because I'm not an expert on that. Here he is saying that.
I don't know anything about politics. I have no idea. I mean, and the stuff that I believe about it, I don't want to force it down somebody else's throat because I'm not an expert on that.
All right. Yeah. Well, imagine bragging about how uninformed you are.
Yeah. Well, I think he's saying more, it's like, I'm not an expert, so my opinion.
No, I don't know anything about politics. You're an American citizen.
And that's what he said. And of course, you saw there the reaction from the cackling hens on The View. They want all celebrities to be, I guess they want them to be anti-Trump. Billy Bob Thornton is known in Hollywood to not be a far lefty. He's kind of a moderate. He calls himself a radical moderate. But let me kind of break down what's really going on here. Because if Billy Bob Thornton were to go ahead and speak out and not take Joy Behar's side, guess what Joy Behar would have said on The View? She would have said he should shut up and act. Because that's what they do when you lean right or when you don't lean left. Now, our side does that too.
I'm going to say one thing. Trump.
And as someone who's lived in L.A. and been able to do a little bit of work, as I said, I can tell you that unless you are an A-lister, you do not dare talk about your politics. To further illustrate this, imagine if Sir David Attenborough did a documentary on this subject.
In the sun-drenched hills of Southern California, a rare and remarkable, elusive creature emerges into view. This is the Hollywood conservative, a solitary and highly endangered species, seldom spotted in its natural habitat. With great caution, he pokes his head above the parapet of convention. His senses, finely tuned by decades of survival, scan the environment. He detects on the warm breeze the unmistakable signs of danger, the distant murmur of impending cancellation, the rustling of virtue signaling in the undergrowth, and the ever-present threat of a public Twitter storm. For a fleeting moment, he stands exposed, blinking thoughtfully in the harsh light of industry opinion. But then, in one fluid, well-practiced movement, the Hollywood conservative retreats. He dives back beneath the protective gates of his Bel Air compound. Here he will remain until the deadly awards season is safely over.
Welcome back to Mark Mosley Show. AI is the devil. And are robots also the devil? Well, could be. At first glance, the ceremony held this week at a Buddhist temple in downtown Seoul, unfolded like any other, with monks processing along rows of colorful hanging lanterns. But one figure stood out from the rest. Despite wearing the same robes as the other monks, a 4-foot-tall humanoid robot named Gabby. Robots are destined to collaborate with humans in every field in the future, said Hong Ming-suk, a manager at the Jogye Order, the largest sect of Buddhism in South Korea. He told the New York Times, "It will only be natural for them to be part of our festival." For the temple, this marks the first time a robot has participated in an initiation ceremony where followers pledge their devotion to the Buddha and his teachings. So Gabby is a Buddhist name that refers to mercy. He was made by Unitree Robotics, a Chinese civilian robotics company. A Chinese civilian robotics company. There's no such thing. Anyway, a Chinese civilian robotics company. That's like jumbo shrimp. Chinese civilian. The Model G1 retails at $13,500. During the ceremony, Gabby agreed to 5 vows usually recited by human monks. The robot pledged to respect life, act with peace toward other robots and objects, listen to humans, refrain from acting or speaking in a deceptive manner, and to save energy. While a human monk normally receives a small incense burn on the arm, instead Gabby received a Lotus Lantern Festival sticker and a prayer bead necklace. What are we doing here? What is this? Is this what we think of faith in our world? I mean, a program cannot have a soul. It can no more be at peace as it is in chaos. So I don't know. I see this as a mockery of all types of faith. I see this as a spit in the eye of God. Why are Buddhist monks going along with this thing? Because who programmed this thing? A human. Humans are all sinful and flawed we're inherently sinful. We're inherently flawed. So I don't know. My limited understanding of Buddhism is that it allows for even inanimate objects to have some version of a spirit, like a rock has a spirit, even though it doesn't have life. So I don't know, but this just seems off to me. It just seems strange. We live in a crazy, crazy world. Speaking of crazy people, it's time to wrap up the show now with our doofus of the week, our big stupid doofus of the week. Well, in Tennessee, 19-year-old Kane Stackhouse walked into the used car dealership of Greg Lampert, or as he's known to the locals, Lumpy Lampert. I'm guessing Greg is a portly fellow. Well, Kane walked in supposedly looking to buy the used Ford Focus that Lumpy had out on the lot. Lumpy said he became a little suspicious that the young man didn't haggle at all over the price or asked to even get the car checked out. But, he probably thought, oh, that guy's an idiot. I'm having a lucky day. A Lumpy lucky day. Well, when they got back into the office and Lumpy pulled out the paperwork to get the sale started, Stackhouse pulled out a gun. A small caliber 25 handgun, a small 25 caliber handgun. He was just looking to steal the car. He didn't want to pay for it. Only one thing stood in his way, and that would be the much more manly 38 that Lumpy kept in his top desk drawer. 38 being much lumpier than a .25 caliber. Well, Kane Stackhouse said, excuse me, let me just back out of this situation right here. And he got up and ran out of the room. Lumpy says, quote, I guess he didn't notice the Friends of NRA hat I was wearing, or heard any of my radio ads that talk about, at my car dealership, you get a free shotgun with every vehicle purchase. So come on down to Lucky Lumpy's Motors and get lucky today. By the way, Kane was really easy for the police to apprehend, because when he ran out of the room screaming like a girl, he forgot that he had taken out his driver's license and left it sitting on Lumpy's desk. Well, that's the show. Until next time, don't forget to follow me especially on YouTube, but all social media at Mark Mosley. Don't forget to give me a follow to the show on YouTube. And until then, when we get together next, may God bless you with health, joy, and wisdom.